us about one of your instances that you've done a large deal. Like, what was the dollar amount to that deal? If you could share that with us, and like, what was the experience through that process?
I would say it wasn't a single. I think one of my best solo years, about 2022, I got like $1.8 million solo for like 10 different projects. And it ranged between the Omega Lamplighters, which is a youth program. Appreciate that. It was the Omega Lamplighters, which is a youth program under Omega Psi Phi fraternity. We got our first allocation there. I had one allocation for a suicide prevention program, another one for a scholarship for low-income college students, another one for elderly for youth students to essentially teach old people to stop being scammed online so they can understand. Because during the pandemic, everybody was scamming the old folks, right? So they ended up being a different mix there. Also, some money for people that were coming out of prison so that they could transition back into life well, so at least the workforce development part was there. So to me, it was more getting out of the narrative of DeSantis and the nonsense.
No, you right, son, my bad. Give him 90 yards. I told you I had it. What told his mama told me he needed a scholarship. He needed a change in his life. And I'm going to give it to him in Eugene, baby. I'm going to give it to him in Eugene right now. We're going to 90 yards. We're going to the 90 yards. It ain't over till I say it's over. Black on black line, nigga. Black on black line. Welcome to Black History Month, nigga. What's up? Welcome to Black History Month, my boy. Welcome to BHM. It's another one. Oh, we coming back. Don't worry. Woo! We're doing this for slavery, for civil rights, for Jim Crow. Hey, happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month to you, BHM. Hey, you ain't even know, Black. Welcome to Black History Month. Welcome for Rosa Parks, baby. Sojourner Truth. That's what we dropping, Sojourner Truth all month. I was about to say, we all killing each other.
Did you know they let banks put mortgages on black people in Florida? You don't believe me? Let's check the statutes. See, in 1842, the Florida legislature had a huge problem of people taking loans from banks on the slaves that they owned, not paying on those mortgages, and taking the slaves and running to other states. Now, as we see here in the text, the resolution called for a committee of 3 members of the Senate and 5 from the House to be appointed for best means of creating a bill or creating some laws around a way to stop people from running off on the plug, running off with property, as you see, that is owned or mortgaged to the banks. Those banks being the Union Bank of Florida, Southern Life Insurance and Trust Company. So they wanted a list to see who sold or disposed of slaves who were mortgaged to those institutions, respectfully, and the number and appraised value of such slaves. This was signed February 16th, Happy Black History Month, 1842, well, adopted by the House at least. I just never heard of a foreclosed slave, because I would really love to put a mortgage on my iPad, put a mortgage on another piece of property that, people today wouldn't really think of. And that's really why we need these statutes in our schools. I understand people were upset about African American history or AP African American history not being taught or banned in certain states. But I believe that if we teach the statutes in these states and make our kids question, why did black people, why did slaves, why did anybody have a mortgage on another person? That would be enlightening to that student, that parent, that teacher in that community, to really understand why these laws were written in America and in the free state of Florida. So I believe if we're going to continue to try to teach Black history in our schools, let's get the statutes in the schools. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing the content. Happy Black History Month.
Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. Let me make sure my sounds are right. Can y'all hear me? Let me know in the chat. Hope you're having a good Thursday, November 20th, roughly 10 a.m. I still haven't started a schedule for the stream yet. Yeah, my apologies there, y'all. So, one of those things, right? Now, before I start today's stream, I want to be real. I want to be all the way real with you, right? This is not an attack on Black women. This is not an attack on Black women. On today's stream, I will not be attacking Black women. I will be exposing the flaws of one candidate, one member of Congress, who happens to be a Black woman, and how it has a greater impact on Black voters in South Florida. When I say Black voters, I mean your Black American voters, your Black American voters who may be of Caribbean descent, Haitian, Jamaican, other Caribbean islands, Trinidad, Tobago, all put together. There's a strong contingent of people in South Florida who may be affected by this, and the timing, of course, is horrible. You know why the timing is horrible? Because most people don't realize that these districts in Florida most likely are going to be discussed to be redrawn before Christmas. So this would be a good send-off and set up into 2026 when the legislative session starts. But the timing of this is horrible. And I always say, to an extent, we need better candidates. We need better people representing us. But more than anything, thank y'all for tapping in for the stream today. I appreciate your time. I'm going to make it quick on this one because we're going to get to Sheila McCormick and some other pieces and kind of expose the bullshit behind it for the most part, right? And then have it go from there. So thank y'all for tapping in. But let's get to the bullshit. Let it begin, baby. Sheila McCormick, my girl. Let's see what the people have to say, man.
Right now at 11, we begin with breaking news. South Florida Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick facing alarming allegations tonight.
Cherfilus-McCormick, who represents parts of Broward and Palm Beach counties, is being charged with stealing millions of dollars from FEMA. She's also accused of using some of that money to help her political campaign back in 2021. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lauren Pastrana.
And I'm Elliot Rodriguez. CBS News Miami's Abby Dodge is joining us live from outside the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami with more details.
Oh, wait, didn't set that up right. My bad, hold on.
Well, this is just the latest legal battle that the Congresswoman has found herself wrapped up in. A former federal prosecutor tells me there is much more information that the public needs to see. 46-year-old Democratic Representative Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick from Miramar is now facing several charges related to her family's healthcare company. The indictment says the charges stem from a $5 million FEMA overpayment back in 2021. It alleges the Congresswoman, family members, and business associates stole extra funds and ran them through multiple sources to disguise the source, then used some of that money to help finance her 2021 congressional campaign. Former federal prosecutor David Weinstein says more details about the representative's alleged role and how it may relate to other COVID relief cases will become clearer once the full indictment is released.
Certainly, the more the facts come out, the better we'll be able to gauge whether or not there was any misconduct.
Weinstein says cases involving the misuse of COVID-19 funding are similar to the Medicare and bank fraud crises of the past.
What happens is that these dollars go out, and when they're being sent out, nobody's really paying attention to who applied for them, why they applied for them, and it's not until afterwards when they start doing accounting and they figure out that they've misappropriated these funds that they then try to turn it around.
In Cherfilus-McCormick's case, there are also charges related to her tax filings. The indictment says the Congresswoman and her tax preparer falsely claimed political spending and other personal expenses as business deductions and inflated charitable contributions to reduce her tax obligations. The U.S. Attorney General called the representative's actions a selfish and cynical crime. Now, the Congresswoman could face up to 53 years in prison if convicted. And she is now in Washington, D.C., hopefully making her way back to South Florida to face a judge sometime before Monday at the latest. We have reached out to her and her team and are waiting to hear back. Live in Miami, Abby Dodge.
This will be a huge case and a huge impact. I seen somebody in the chat said something about the map. They don't understand the whole district mapping. They don't go off county. You're right. This map has a greater impact. And let me put Sheila's face on here for what it is. Go back here. Hold on. Let me get a good shot so y'all can see her, right? No, not that one. I think that was straight. All right, cool. No, that was not good. Nope, not that one. All right, we're going to go down. All right, cool. So the biggest issue is this is a black district, right? And you can tell by the configuration of the black district, just by the mapping, that it has all the configuration that has the eyelashes, the nose, and the duck lips. That's how this district is gerrymandered, because it includes parts of Palm Beach, going western Palm Beach to Belgrade, Pahokee. Then it swoops on down through the nose to include some wildlife areas. Then it goes to the duck lips to include Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, and other things. And you don't believe me. You may not believe me, chat, right? You don't believe me, chat, but this is the map that we're talking about. This stream is about Representative Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick's indictment and how it's going to impact the black voters in South Florida. Now, this is the black district, as you can see. Again, as I identified, you have the lashes, the nose, and the duck lips, right? And of course, the haters are here. Appreciate you.
Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
Long titty, no nipple having ass bitch.
So I appreciate the haters. I appreciate the haters for being here, right? But essentially what you have here, you could just do this because Hunter thinks it's funny, so I could just take the chat off. So again, this is a black district. You have gerrymandered here, Riviera Beach, Palm Beach, up Southern Boulevard until you get out to Belgrade, Pahokee, include some wildlife, Loxahatchee Natural Reserves area through the nose here, the cusp. Then it comes on down to Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, Fort Lauderdale area to include these black communities, right? And what you have here is a good contingent of Haitian American voters, Jamaican American voters, Black American voters, and other Caribbean island voters that really make up this district, right? And you can kind of see from the previous configuration, which was a map when Alcee Hastings was representing this area. Let me make sure y'all can see it right. Same thing, same configuration, gerrymandered to include Riviera, Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, up Southern, the black areas of Royal Palm Beach, which has a good Jamaican community and Black American community out west. Belgrade, the Loxahatchee Natural Reserves, cup that in on the nose. Then we come down to Lauderdale, North Lauderdale, Plantation, Pompano, all these areas here to get the duck lips in this black area. So this is a gerrymandered district, black district, and this is how you can kind of tell off the configuration. Now, this is very important for her indictment. There are a lot of black people who are in this area, again, like I already said, but it created a narrative since Congressman Alcee Hastings passed away in this seat to basically say, okay, cool, let me go to the current configuration. Like, this picks a situation where you have your black affluent and black voters in Palm Beach and your black voters in Broward County essentially fighting for this seat. And even though I'm from Palm Beach, I would look at it as, if I'm from Palm Beach, I probably wouldn't want someone from Miramar or Pompano representing my area, just like somebody from Fort Lauderdale or Pompano wouldn't want somebody from Palm Beach or Riviera Beach representing their area, right? And I could be flawed and wrong in my thinking there, but it is what it is, but it's a South Florida thing, right? However, I do think that there is a bigger conversation because the indictment happening is really funny because I think that there's a part of, you think maybe a pretty smile or whatever can win over elected officials, but nah, when it comes down to these elections, these people hold it down true to their heart, right? But the timing is really crazy because the legislative leaders in Florida, which Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick has no attachment to because she ran and beat state senators, county commissioners from Broward and Palm Beach County, state representatives, and other people that were currently representing this area, she beat them all. After she ran twice in 2018 and 2020, we'll get to that in a minute, right? But she beat them all in this district in a special election because rest in peace to Alcee Hastings. But
We have a lot of black members who don't want to let go and they die in these offices, and it dominoes into situations like this, truth be told, for what it is, right? So all put together, this is the community that will be impacted. Now, the Florida House, the Florida legislature is going to consider December 4th. They're going to start looking at maps to redraw the districts. And I'll say this, if the Supreme Court decides to rule on the Louisiana versus Calais decision, which is drawn up by Republicans to say, hey, this is disenfranchising, these minority districts are disenfranchising white Democrats in Louisiana, because if you look at most situations, they aren't drawing a white Democratic seat in West Virginia or other states where Republicans dominate. So we're really drawing a seat for Democrats because, I'm not studying law, I'm a lobbyist. I just work in process. But I shouldn't answer that question. It threw off my train of thought. Essentially, the Supreme Court's deciding to say, all right, cool. Is it right for them to draw a seat that where 90% of the voters in Palm Beach County and Broward County that are in this black district, again, the lashes, the nose, the duck lips, right, in this black district, is it illegal to draw this because the white voters in this area are disenfranchised, right? And if the Supreme Court says, you know what, yes, we'll rule with the Republicans here, cool, then it could be a situation where the Florida legislature says, you know what, now we have a situation where we can redraw this map, and you really have essentially black people in Palm Beach County fighting for a seat in Congress, and black people in Broward fighting for a seat in Congress. Or they can split it all together, make it all work for what it is, right? And it's not a part of pushing partisan politics what it is, but this is how the district is currently drawn, right? So when you look at it that way, it's like, all right, cool. If this is how it's currently drawn, and they take it out and include more Palm Beach, less of Broward, or they compact Broward or whatever it is, because the Supreme Court's already said the legislatures can draw maps that benefit them, right? So the party in charge. So if they look at a situation like this, where they don't have to draw a majority minority district because it disenfranchises white Democrats in Palm Beach, then it's like, you know what, damn, this is a bigger play. But all put together, most people aren't talking about that. They're going to focus on the criminal charges and things of that nature. Again, we'll get into that because there is a point of highlighting and saying this has a bigger impact and a bigger domino than people actually realize. And I don't think people are really getting to the fact of you're running for office, whether on ego or actual public service, right? And then there's a point of what are you going to do to get elected? Because when the dominoes fall and the indictments hit after the Epstein shit, now you get a situation where all these black voters in South Florida are going to be impacted by Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick's bullshit ass decision to take FEMA money, the overpayment from the state, and put it in a federal campaign account. Now, I can say a lot, but I don't want to say too much. But I do want to be real. There has to be a situation where black elected officials out here stop making bonehead ass decisions running with people's money, especially federal money. Because there's a part of it to me that says this is federal FEMA money that went to the state of Florida that was overpaid to my organization. And I end up using this in my federal campaign account. That means it had to go in a federal insured bank system. And now I'm in Congress. Like, why would I do that? Actually, I had a call with a client last night and they said, yeah, Phil, it doesn't make sense to me. Why would you do this? Like, it's like, because on the Republican side, they have money. Now, there's some Democrats that have money. Don't get it twisted, but a lot of Democrats are broke. A lot of your favorite, even black Democrats, as they say in the culture, are some brokies. Not me. I'm not saying it. Just look at, as the people say, go look at the financial disclosures that they have to submit when they run. I'm not saying I'm looking at them, but just listen to the conversations people may have in the process. And that's how they judge how they're going to be respected in politics. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm being real, right? So when you have someone who has a net worth of 10, 15, 20, $50 million, $100 million plus, they're not coming in to say, yeah, I'm going to take federal money, $5 million, and put it in my damn campaign account because I can loan myself $5 million. And if I win, essentially, depending on how much I spend, I can reimburse myself off the loan I gave myself initially. That's part of the game. But when you don't understand the game, because I always say to myself as well, it's like, You hear the conversation of foundational Black Americans, we need this, we need reparations, the American descendants of slaves, cool, but for the foundational Black Americans, this is what America needs to give us. But to me, it's always like, why don't y'all even operate like foundational Americans? Because foundational Americans are saying, you know what, I'm not running no grassroots campaign and being broke and hoping that this title and this ego I have to feel important is going to make me something. Essentially, it's saying like, no, I got the money to do that. I can go build my family legacy. We are 5, 6, 3, 5, 6, 7 generations into a state, Nebraska, Florida, Georgia, wherever. I can do it. And then they run. And they're not just running for the cloud of ego. They're running for the cloud of like, listen, I got some bigger shit I got in store, right? Whether it's public service, whether they want to fix something. But then when you get to the fact of in situations like this, where you have a minority majority district, you have situations where people going to do whatever the fuck they got to do to run and be elected. Right. And that's exactly what happened here. So I'm going to get into some of the money briefly. Right. Let me make sure I straighten this up. I want people to see on the vertical stream. Let me actually go here and straighten it. Yeah, that's better. So I'm going to put in Sheila. It's only been like a couple of them. Rest in peace, Sheila Jackson. That's ran for Congress. Right. And if you go to the campaign, there are a couple of things that are alarming, right? Off top. Because people will talk about the $6 million, that's cool, when she ran, but she had a paper trail of running before. And I'm not against Sheila McCormick, I'm not against Congresswoman Sheila McCormick. I'm not attacking Black women. I'm just going through the simple shit that's like, you know what, this is kind of eyebrow raising, right? Especially on understanding how political processes work across the board. So in 2018, she ran and raised $39,000 for the race, roughly less than 40 for what it is. And even for this race, you want to go to financial summary, she raised 32, basically 15 itemized, whatever. She contributed 13,000, right? To the race, spent 39,000. That's 2018. So that means, all right, cool, you ran this, but your opponent had a lot more money, right? Frank, I'm not wasting my time with that. Frank, if you were on the stream, I'm not wasting my time with that right now. Yes. So 2020, let's get to it. You have to build kind of a track record. 2020, a lot more money. I'm running again, and I'm not getting into the narrative of what happened during those campaigns. I'm going to strictly, okay, how much did she raise? She raised $69,000 for that race, 2020. So if you look at it, like being realistic, all right, cool, that's a nice set of growth. Pause, right? You have 40,000 you raised your first campaign, right? Roughly. That second campaign, you doubled up and you raised roughly 70. Cool. And let's a financial summary just to get into it. Cool. Even that one, you loaned yourself 50,000. Damn. All right, cool. She really wanted this shit, right? I'm not even looking at what her opponent spent. I'm looking at what she raised. Okay, cool. And you spent 29,000 because you're like, you know what? I put 50,000 of my money in. I'm not going to spend 50,000 of my money for a loss, right? I'm running grassroots, and this is a grassroots strategy. The grassroots strategy is like, listen, this member is old. This member is an older member. There's a likelihood he's going to stay here, but if I keep running, I'm going to build a base of supporters, a base of people who are going to love me forever, right? Cool. We're going to get there. All right, we're there. So all of a sudden, the gentleman passes away, right? And just to really go through it, let me see if y'all can see this right. All right, cool. Look at some of the numbers from these races, right? We have to put perspective out there. This is the 2020 race, 18,000 votes off of 70,000. I'm not even getting into Alcee Hastings' money and how much she raised, 52,000, right? The race before that, is it here? This is Ballotpedia. Wait, no. This is the first race, excuse me. This is the first race where she raised about 40,000, right? Cool. She got Molly Watt, respectfully, first time candidate, 73-26. It is what it is, right? You put 50 up on him. It is what it is, 40 plus. He went on to win against the Republican. So the second race, where she raised, let me see if I go here. The second race where she raised is 69,000 and loaned herself to 50,000, right? And again, I'm not exposing shit. I'm just going through the facts. These are the facts of what's reported, right? She lost that race, 30,000 votes. So essentially, she paid 26,000,
got 27,000 votes, not bad. And then that first race, she raised 18,000. So it's a mindset of saying, all right, cool, I ran for office. I'm going to get at least 20,000 votes, right? I went from 18 to 26. Alcee Hastings isn't on the ballot anymore. There's a good chance I'm going to get 20,000 votes if I get my base out. So I'm not going to disrespect that at all because she's put in the work before the bullshit, right? You ready for the bullshit? Let me know if you're ready for the bullshit, chat. Let me know in the chat. You ready for the bullshit? Where's the bullshit, Phil? Say, where's the bullshit? Nobody? All right, cool. Fuck it. Here's the bullshit. That next race, this is 2020. The next race, 2022, this is all public information. You go to fec.org to get the same information I'm looking at with you, right? How much do you think it is in the 2022 race for that special election that happened in 2021, right? For that roll? Because, you know, it's the time period is that gap, 19 to 20 or whatever. But what's the gap here? Hold on, it's got to refresh. Come on. FEC. Is everybody on the website right now? Hold on, that's 2024. Let's go to, and here's the bullshit. Can I get the 2022, please? The server must be popping on 2022. 2020. Let me try it this way. All right, there we go. So again, now we're looking at it. Let me straighten this out for y'all a little more, right? Give y'all a little more space on the screen. I got some black space I can fill in. Cool, right? But think about it like this. Wouldn't this be a little alarming? Like, wait a minute. How do you go from, you ran in 2018, and this is political psychology, like 40,000 that you raised. All right, cool. The next race, 69,000. So if anything, the next race, you should probably have 150,000. No bullshit at the high side, right? At the high side of this policy. Because listen, you have to understand, these are not corporate givings. These are individual givings, right? When you're running for Congress, you can't go get a corporate check. You have to get a personalized check. So what they're saying is, all right, cool, from this person, they have to give this amount. How many of your friends are going to be able to go say, yeah, I want to run for Congress right now? Let me put this up just for the clip, all right? The issue here is, again, when you run for Congress, how many of your friends can you hit up and say, yeah, bro, I'm about to run for Congress. I want to represent Palm Beach and Broward County. You know, I'm from here. I was born and raised here. Well, I grew here. Y'all know me for real, right? Can you cut me a $3,500 check for my congressional campaign? Right today, let me know in the chat right now. Can you cut me a $3,500 check so I can go run for Congress? And a lot of your friends will say, like, bro, I could probably $25, $50, maybe $100. Like, you know, I support you, bro, but you know, let me know, like, hey, give me a month. I got to raise that myself to give, right? You know, that's the excuse the average friend may give, unless they got it, right? So if you don't have it, in the last 2 times you ran, you only raised less than 70,000. All of a sudden, okay, the congressman I ran against is gone. I have a base of 20,000 voters out there that I can go get. And all of a sudden, I'm going to run. But guess what? I'm not expecting that a state senator is going to resign to run. I'm not expecting that a couple of state house members are going to resign to run. I'm not expecting that a couple county commissioners that represent Palm Beach and Broward have been waiting for this opportunity along with me. They just haven't filed to run against this man. And I got to run. But the last time I ran, I raised $70,000. And then I decided to run in this race, and all of a sudden, I get $6.7 million in my race. And here's the bigger eye-catching shit, right? You can win the lottery. You can run, you could be running an e-commerce business. You could be doing a whole lot of stuff between 2018 and 2021 to say, you know what? Yeah, my net worth increased. I can give myself $6 million now. What's up? What's up? I can put $6 million in the shoe. What's up? The issue is, when the Democratic Party sees this, you know what they say? Oh, shit. We got a fundraiser. We got somebody that can run the bag up against these Republicans. We found somebody who's tapped in. May need some water. We found somebody who's tapped into the money in South Florida to go win.
And we can be competitive across the state of Florida, in Georgia, everywhere. We can, because guess what? You got to go raise money for the Democratic Party now. You raise $6 million. You got to go raise money for the party to compete against the RNC. And they didn't realize that they were tipping off the African ceiling bird. That was going to look at the fact that you raised $6 million after you raised less than 70 the first 2 times. So that means that you hit a strike of gold. So what you going to do in that next election in 2020 when you're running for re-election? You're going to raise at least 6.5, another 10 million just to keep you in. 639. Wait, what? And that's because you're elected. That's because they want to keep you in now. That's because they're looking at like, wait a minute, what? How? I thought you were supposed to be raising money for the party. We expected more from you. So, maybe it's a blip. We're going to raise $600,000 again. It's a tenth of what she raised when she won, but we're going to get it again because guess what? She can raise money like Pelosi. We need money to win elections. We need money for TV ads. We need money for everything, polling. All the polls they run, Trump's favorability is down. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for the scientific information for that. Where's it going to come from? These Democratic members who can go raise some money and drop it in there. This DNC bank account. So this year, we go 600,000, 220. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. You're raising a lot of eyebrows now. You're raising a lot of eyebrows now. Like, wait a minute. How did you go raise $6 million for a special election when a favorable candidate raised $1 million and he was a former county commissioner? Wait a minute, you ain't come from that. I ain't saying it from no pedigree, Jack and Jill, none of that. You didn't come from the people in this community have seen my name on the ballot. They see me in the Sun Sentinel. They see me on WPEC. They see me on the news, but they don't even know you for real. But you showed up every day like, hey, I'm here, pretty smile, nice wig. Hey, what do you do? Running for Congress for you, to serve you. Can I get your vote? I don't even need your 3,500. I'm not even getting to the other shit the indictment talking about. I'm just getting to the basic shit that's kind of raised eyebrows because, again, when you ran for office the first time, you had, that's the second time, sorry, that's second. The first time for Congress, and they called, you had to, $10,000 is what you got to raise to file. What are we even talking about? 39,700. What are we even saying? If it's not clear, and you know what? Here's the issue. Here is the issue where the money come from, right? Now, you have a lot of people saying, "Hey, go get one of these government contracts. Go get one of these government contracts, dog." Because the government always gonna pay. Government always has issues. Government always gonna pay, right? And they say when the congresswoman was the CEO of this business, Trinity Healthcare Services, they were providing healthcare. Not even healthcare, sorry. They were providing, they had a contract to do registrations for COVID-19 vaccinations. And they had a $50,000, I guess, payout. And they got a $5 million overpayment. Now, I don't know about you, to be fair, right? Now, wait a minute. Maybe we return this money. Maybe wait for them to call. We're going to put it in the bank and wait. Somebody say, hey, take that shit, hit. I'm done. I'm out the country. What do they not extradite? I'm gone. I'm out of here. What are we saying? But no, they use that money, and this is what the state said, because, it's a paper trail. It's federal money. It's FEMA money, which was given to the state of Florida to be dispersed, and this is how we got here. I know some of y'all may have seen it, but it's my take. Hopefully, don't have an ad here.
My old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping
YouTube
themselves.
YouTube ads can't control
having
this.
no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Tonight, an update on a story CBS 12 News broke last week.
Yeah, state of Florida now suing a local company called Trinity Healthcare Services over close to $6 million in COVID response overpayments. Trinity's CEO at the time, Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick.
And tonight, our Victoria DeCardenas, who was the first to report this story, brings us an important update. Victoria.
Jim and Liz, this lawsuit filed by the Florida Department of Emergency Management on New Year's Eve made headlines last week, not only because of how much the state overpaid Trinity Healthcare Services, but because Congresswoman Cherfilus-McCormick has also been in the news over her congressional ethics investigation. The state sued because when they asked for all of that money back, they say Trinity ignored their request. Now, Trinity says they did respond, but the state has been ignoring them.
Ain't no way, not about no $5 million.
2 weeks after the Florida Department of Emergency Management sued Trinity Healthcare Services, the medical company has issued a response to the claim they owe the state almost $6 million. Here's what happened. Trinity was one of the many companies across Florida paid by the state to register people for and administer the COVID vaccine. In March of 2021, Trinity sent the state a bill for $50,578.50. In June, the state mistakenly sent a check for $5,057,850, thanks to a misplaced decimal point. Trinity cashed that check and several others, which overpaid the company over $5.7 million total. Then, in June of 2024, the state sent Trinity a letter asking for the taxpayers' money back. The state says they never got any response. So, last month, they filed suit against Trinity. But this week, Trinity is insisting they did answer, claiming they were unable to verify they were overpaid by nearly $6 million. They also claim the state never responded to their reply. But here's where things get a little murky. Congresswoman Cherfilus-McCormick was CEO of Trinity Healthcare in 2021, and she signed those invoices to the state herself, so she knew how much they were billing. And as part of her congressional ethics investigation into campaign finance irregularities, she reported her income from Trinity increased by $6 million in 2021.
Now let's go back, y'all. Hold on.
She reported her income from Trinity increased by
What's the only difference here, y'all? Let's just, and this isn't me, right? This is common sense being political, right? What increase? What are we saying here, y'all? I gotta put my phone on the charge so I can. Oh, got my cords here, right? What increase? Come on, man.
$6 million in 2021. Not only that, but just days after Trinity was overpaid by $5 million, Cherfilus-McCormick personally loaned her congressional campaign committee $2 million.
What are we talking about, man? Let me make sure y'all can see it. Y'all can't see it. Y'all can't see it. My bad. I got too excited. Y'all can't even see the numbers. Look, I gotta do the whole spin again. I gotta do it all again for the clip. Y'all know I gotta do it again for the clip. Let's go back. We gotta get the clip right.
Was overpaid by $5 million,
I'm gonna go out.
Increased by $6 million in 2021. Not only that, but just days after Trinity was overpaid by $5 million, Cherfilus-McCormick personally loaned her congressional campaign committee $2 million. And
what are we talking about, man? I don't have the same energy. Bro, what are we even saying? If you had the $6 million the first time, if you had it, here's the thing. This is a paper trail, y'all. Why didn't you use it in 2018? Right? Wait for it to load up. Let's wait for it to load up for a second. Because this big, come on now. When you loan yourself $7,450. Am I tripping? Am I tripping, chat? Right? Or in 2020, it's like you gotta come up with a good 50,000. I'm not saying the money would have helped you win that election, but it's like, all right, bro. What are we doing? Where's the money come from? Right? That's the problem. The problem is you have these elected officials who get in these positions who fuck it up for everyone else, to be honest. Let me see what else they're saying. There's got to be some other news on this. No.
And breaking tonight, federal prosecutors say...
No, not that one.
The Justice Department has indicted a Florida congresswoman alleging that she stole millions from FEMA. Her name, she's a Democrat, Sheila Cherfilus.
I didn't know my shit was wrong there. My bad, y'all. Hold on. There we go.
The Justice Department has indicted a Florida congresswoman alleging that she stole millions from FEMA. Her name, she's a Democrat, Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, is accused of taking $5 million in agency funds to use for her political campaign. Scott McFarland has the story.
I'm Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, Democrat for Congress.
When Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick was running for a seat in the U.S. House in 2021, the Department of Justice says the Democrats stole $5 million in COVID-19 disaster funds to support her congressional campaign. A federal grand jury indicted Cherfilus-McCormick and several co-defendants Wednesday. Prosecutors allege a healthcare company she ran with her brother was overpaid $5 million in FEMA funds for a vaccination staffing contract. They say the company received that money in July 2021, and Cherfilus-McCormick used it for her campaign. The funds were routed through multiple accounts to disguise its source, they say. And a portion of the money was funneled to friends and family who donated to the campaign. It's the latest legal battle for Cherfilus-McCormick, who's already under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for campaign finance violations, including misreporting the source of a contribution. In a statement, Cherfilus-McCormick called the case a, quote, sham indictment, insisting she is innocent.
No, just to stop it there, to be real. It's a paper trail for me, right? If you had $6 million before, you would have done it, right? Let me make sure y'all can see this. Because it wasn't just one loan, right? The biggest one was $2 million. Then everything else, because you can only spend so much in a primary or whatever. So she was dropping this in the special. Right, 2,300,000, 290, 200, 150, and it's like, where were you spending the money at? To be real, going to expenditures and actually repay the loan too, because you can do this. You can repay the loan for what it is. You repaid yourself $2.4 million of the money, over time, which is wild to me, right? Absolutely crazy. But where did you spend the cash? Biggest expenses. Law firms. Move this over, hold on. You need some good lawyers for this. Advertising, 60,000, 40,000, urban initiatives, digital buys, TV buys, effective TV, and Coral Gables. Listen, Outfront Media, I think that's Outside Media in Pompano. So she was dropping money locally. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bar complaint against this group, because they had to know something. Buying up TV. I mean, that's part of the game. As you see, running for Congress costs. So even if you're running in a black district, Ben Williams doing a bit digital buy, there are people who gonna make money on this. 17 or 18,000 at the Rosen Center. That had to be like some Democrat shit, right? But all put together, it's like there comes a point of saying you raise all this money, so that next election, 2024, to me, Democrats, the DNC is looking at, all right, you raised that much money, how much you giving other ones? You repaid yourself $132,000, right? There's no other committee that you're giving money to. And that's a part of the game where it's kind of like, okay, you received committee contributions, National Broadcasters PAC, JetBlue PAC, one of these Communication Workers of America Union PACs, Toyota, American Health. So they're there's money you end up receiving, but you didn't raise that same money back, and you didn't give money to other Democrats, which is really the main structure of it. You raise money to run for Congress, then all of a sudden, you raise $6 million. Now you caught up in this. Now, do I think she's guilty? I think she's charged, and I also think it's kind of funny that the FEMA money hits and all this happens. But my biggest thing is the people who be impacted in this district. Let me straighten this up again. Right, for this part, before I get to some other news people care about outside of Florida politics, right? I don't touch Florida politics. Our governor's too sensitive. I don't do that shit, right? My issue is the voters in this district now who, when the Florida legislature starts discussing this new map, they're not going to be talking to a former member or a member of Congress who was a former state senator, a former representative, or had some kind of inkling or ties to Tallahassee, right? They're going to be speaking about a district being held by an indicted member of Congress, which has happened before. No, not saying in any kind of way, right? But at the same time, they're going to look at this and say, you know what, damn, how should we redraw this map if the Supreme Court tells us we don't have to draw majority minority districts anymore? And that just swamps out the electoral power, potentially, of this entire district. So that's my take on the Cherfilus-McCormick piece. I'm going to shift over to some other news now because guess what? That's clearly not the only thing happening in the world. I got to go with my girl, Jasmine Crockett. You know, we a big Jasmine Crockett fan over here. I know you get tired of me and her. It's going to happen one day. We're going to get on the show. I best believe it. I better believe it. You got to speak things into existence, right? I want almost every presidential candidate to come through this as we continue to build out this channel and this little community. I appreciate y'all tapping in on that point. I'm going to change the thumbnail and change the title. I think I got my content from that. So jump off here. I'm going to jump on live content also. Actually, no, the live
House Oversight Committee,
well.
Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. And thank you for being here because now this clock has started with the president signing this bill behind closed doors tonight. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, was asked earlier today about releasing everything. She repeatedly said, we will follow the law. Do you expect that you'll get all of these documents by December 18th?
I do not. I absolutely don't. Expect that, especially when you start to say things like Pam Bondi said she will follow the law, because the only thing that we have seen consistently out of this administration, whether we're talking about the failed prosecution of Comey, and I'm saying failed because that is absolutely what I anticipate is going to happen, we know that they are always doing the opposite of following the law. Every time we look at those court orders that they have ignored, you know, they have literally put us in this constitutional crisis in this country, because for the first time we have another branch of government that seemingly thinks that what other branches have to say, well, you know what, that's advisory. It's not anything that they have to follow. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I don't expect transparency.
The president said tonight he thinks it's going to end up being really embarrassing for Democrats. Are you worried that it's going to be embarrassing for
I'm
your
not
party?
worried at all. I can tell you one thing, I ain't never worried about my name being in the Epstein files. So that's one thing that we can talk about. Number two, for me, it's not partisan. It's somebody that worked in the criminal justice system. I understand what it is to sit across from a victim. I understand their stories. I understand the trauma, and I understand the lasting effects. Wrong is wrong, right is right. And I think that that is what we are missing in this administration. It seems like he consistently wants to give a pass so long as someone is a follower of his. That's what we saw with the January 6ers, that he decided that he was going to pardon, and then even after they got in trouble again, he decided to pardon them again. He seemingly only wants to go after people that he looks at as if they are opposition. We in this country, what justice looks like is going after whoever is wrong, no matter their race, no matter their political affiliation, and no matter how much money they do or don't have in the bank account.
So you're saying, yeah, you don't care even if it does embarrass Democrats?
I don't care. That's not what this is about. To me, it's not political. We need to make sure that we understand how it was that this was able to take place, and we need to make sure that we tear down those structures. We have an obligation as legislators to make sure that we do better by the people in this country. We need to make sure that there are no other children that end up in similar circumstances, whether Jeffrey Epstein is alive or dead. We need to make sure, because it wasn't just one man. This was a system, a sophisticated system that was set up. And so we need to make sure that there are no other victims going forward.
Not bad, Joe.
One Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real.
I'll be with Jasmine Crockett most of the time. But I think it does get a point of saying you just got to admit when you're wrong sometimes. I think we can be fair there. That can be a straight man to man, woman to woman, human to human, take race out of it, right? Like, can we ever admit when we're wrong? You know, yeah, I'll take that on the chin. I was wrong. I'll eat crow. But I'll go with something else. I think this kind of, no, I'm not buying it.
Time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies.
Is that a lie, chat? I mean, is my girl lying? Men lie, women lie. I don't want to go back and listen to that.
Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is?
And here's the crazy shit, right? Out of respect for people who've been watching the chat so far, you see we were just on the FEC website. We were just going through some of the expenditures, some of the contributions, where some of the money went, and things of that nature, right? All you have to do is click over to, no, actually we did when we talked about some of the vendors. That's all you have to do to double check. If you hit that arrow to the side, you can double check and it pulls up their whole information, their name, their address, their profession. And you can double check exactly who, and that's just really doing a damn job as a researcher. Like, let me just triple check, let me quadruple check, let me just 10 times I'll double check, yeah, it's the right thing, before you pass it up the chain and have it sit on the floor, to have this be now flipped, because now the narrative's going to be the low IQ, you didn't even do this. And it diminishes the Jeffrey Epstein attack, because I get the counter. I get the counter. You know, I got to stop, because y'all going to say I'm attacking black women today.
I have not. So I will trust and take what he says is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
A registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know. When you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC.
We got 20 minutes. Hold on, y'all. Let's find out. FEC.gov. Who did she say? Jeffrey Epstein, right? Individual contributions from Jeffrey Epstein. Let me make sure y'all can see this. Hold on, I gotta zoom out some. 20 minutes, right? Because this is how I've done this before. We can start the timer once I finish this up, so we can kind of see it, right? I want to make sure we can see it. Right, cool. 20 minutes. We have until 11:20 to find this out. Jeffrey Epstein, all contributions, right? Cool. Wife call, I gotta ignore this for 2 seconds. Hopefully nothing popping off. Who did she say? No, Donald Trump. Let's see if Trump ever got a contribution in 16 from a Epstein. Right? Hold on. Got 20 minutes. We under the clock. Hold on. Let's see if we can do it. Source. Trying to make sure that y'all can see it and I can research at the same time. So I'm not researching. Oh yeah, we couldn't even see what he was talking about. All right. So source, we still got 20 minutes, right? Name, Epstein. Jeffrey. Nope, that's like Jeffrey Epstein. Let me try Jeffrey. Nothing. Shit. I'm gonna take it off that. Wait, Jeffrey Epstein. I have a Jeffrey Epstein here. Wait a minute. Hillary for America. Y'all see it, right? I have a Jeffrey Epstein, Hillary for America. Let me make sure y'all can see this. We still have 20 minutes, right? Let me make sure. Hold on. I just didn't zoom out. Hold on. Let me zoom out the screen. Still got 20 minutes. Even with my fuck ups, right? Can I zoom out? Nope, that's zoom in. No, this is the right burn. Jeffrey Epstein? Wait. Y'all see Jeffrey Epstein? $250. Jeffrey Epstein. Can y'all see that address? Hold on. Wait. That's how easy it is. Gave the burning. Jeffrey Epstein. And then you can at least verify a Jeffrey Epstein. And that was in 5 minutes, less than 5, even with fuck ups. So I think a part of it is when you kind of see this, it's like, wait a minute. Okay, what about the $25? Okay, Starcards Ohio Executive Director. Okay, and that's just one amount, right? So you can say, okay, damn, I'm wrong here. Like, let me take off the time frame. Let me take off the time frame and leave the name. Let me put the name back and look at all Jeffrey Epsteins, right? Across, okay, let me look at the bigger amounts because this is the wrong person, right? Okay, cool. Should I have a $500 Mr. M, Charlotte, North Carolina? Okay, self-employed. Okay, damn, never mind. Okay, let me go with Romney, $250. Oh, Romney has one. Okay, this is what you're talking about. Romney, physician, self-employed. Okay, this isn't the same guy from Coral Gables. No, he's from New York. Okay, cool. Then it's like Biden having the Jeffrey Epstein. So I kind of get it, but I don't because this executive from Disney is looking at it like, yeah, I'm not that guy. I just happen to have the same name for some odd reason. And all these little contributions. So I get it, but it's sensationalizing the narrative, right? And you could validate that whole process realistically in less than 20 minutes. So that's the part, even if your staff is half experienced or just knows a little bit of research, right? It's basically saying like, I get it, but you're sensationalizing it. And I'll be with the Republicans on that point to say, you know what, we need less of the sensationalized bullshit and more of the real shit. Like, listen, why even say it if it's not real? That's the bullshit. Let's get back to it.
So, number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein because I knew that we would need more time to really dig in.
Well, Stacey Plaskett was texting the Jeffrey Epstein that we're all talking about. You voted against the censure for her to remove her from her committees. You know, we pressed the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, on this last night. Maybe you don't think she should be removed from her committees. Correct. But why do so many Democrats seem unwilling to say it's inappropriate to be texting with a registered sex offender about what you're going to ask a witness at a congressional hearing?
So I'm not going to necessarily say that that's the case. Now, this is somebody that was a former prosecutor. Now, I haven't sat down and talked about all the specifics of why Stacey was doing what she was doing. I know that when she got up and she spoke, she talked about the fact that this is one of her constituents. At the end of the day, what I know of prosecutors is that they are typically talking to co-defendants. They are typically talking to the people that have the best information. And what you had was you had the former attorney for the president that was sitting there. And honestly, we knew, or she knew, or at least Jeffrey Epstein presented that he was very cozy with the president. He had more information, registered sex offender or not. The bigger question is, why is it that the president was so cozy with a registered sex offender even after he ultimately ended up with some of his convictions? And seemingly, he had absolutely been on the plane with him. We know about the birthday card. The bigger question is, why is the president of the United States not the one that is in the hot seat for his relationship, instead of us saying, oh, you know what, we're going to take her off of her committee because he decided to text her. Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, you know, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been in jail. And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia? No, it was nothing like that. She was trying to understand. Let's say Jeffrey Epstein said, you know what, I have these pictures, these salacious pictures, because I know that the president got down and did these things. Do you think that it would be inappropriate for her to ask about those things if he said he had personal knowledge
I think
important?
the context matters, but obviously it seemed like he was helping her. But I do want to ask you before you go tonight, because in your home state, we've talked about redistricting there. Yeah. The federal judge saying that they have to use that 2021 map yesterday. I mean, this is what truly launched a redistricting arms race, basically, in this nation. I wonder, when you look at that ruling stands, do you think the blue states that have launched their own redistricting should stand down on it?
No, I don't. Because guess what? The president hasn't stood down, and the president started this. So if he wanted to start it and Democrats decide that they're going to finish it, then so be it. At the end of the day, number one, this is not a final ruling. We know that Texas has decided that they are going to appeal this up to the Supreme Court, Trump's Supreme Court, so it's not final. That's number one. Number two, we know that he now is applying pressure on Florida. We know that they were twisting the arms of those in Indiana to the extent that one of the Indiana Republicans ended up being doxxed here recently. We know that they took a seat away in Missouri. We know that they went to North Carolina after North Carolina, in my opinion, illegally took 3 seats last time. They took another seat out of North Carolina. We know that he tried to go to South Carolina. We know that as it relates right now, they're taking 1 or 2 seats out of Ohio. So no, I don't think that we should stop. I encourage Virginia to move forward. They have a mandate. We know that on November 4th, they overwhelmingly decided the Democrats should run their legislature. And I encourage Maryland and anybody else that can get into the game to get into the game.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy because, again, that indictment that dropped with Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick out of Florida yesterday is really going to get to a point of saying, yeah, I still think they have control. And when a lot of black members essentially are in a situation, not to make it a race thing, but to be like real, for real, when they get in a situation where it's like, all right, cool, they got to fight for their own, they ain't got to fight for the bullshit, they're the ones that are going to be impacted. So they're the ones that are going to have to go back to their communities and try to fight for to be respected and elected. But let me go over to the House Judiciary Committee real quick, live. Let me get this over there. Jim Jordan. Chair.
Bills within the jurisdiction of our committee. Judiciary Committee has a number of very important topics in our jurisdiction: the Constitution, civil rights, civil liberties, immigration, crime, and functioning of our court system. These affect Americans' lives every day. We have several of our colleagues here this morning to testify before our committee, and I look forward to hearing what they have to say. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Pennsylvania for any opening remarks she may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for convening this Member Day hearing, and thank you to our colleagues for joining us today. We are looking forward to hearing your testimony. To our colleagues for joining us today, we are looking forward to hearing your testimony and appreciate the opportunity to learn more about the bills you're leading and the priorities you have within the Judiciary Committee's jurisdiction. As the chair mentioned, we're responsible for a broad range of issues, including the federal judiciary, voting rights, constitutional amendments, civil rights and liberties, immigration, intellectual property, antitrust, and more. So, we're looking forward to hearing from you, and I know that our committee's work will only be strengthened by hearing from you today. So thank you.
The gentlelady yields back. Thank you. Without objection, all of the opening statements will be included in the record. I would remind our colleagues testifying today that your written statements will be included in the record in their entirety, and we ask that you summarize your testimony in 5 minutes. Our first witness is from the great state. What a great way to start. The gentlelady from Ohio, Ms. Representative Sykes, is recognized. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and to the ranking member for having this hearing today and allowing us to talk about issues that are important
My girl,
communities
Millie
in
Sykes.
this country. And first, let me give you a quick warning to take a sip of coffee, because I'm going to discuss a topic that I love but often bores a lot of people. That is bankruptcy. I would like to ask for your support for a bill I plan to reintroduce to close a loophole that allows for companies to use the Texas two-step. For far too long, greedy corporations have used shady bankruptcy tactics like the Texas two-step to avoid compensating innocent Americans that they have hurt. By using this tactic, corporations facing a large number of injury liability lawsuits move their corporate entities to execute a divisive merger. This splits the corporation into two companies, with the parent company taking all the assets and the new company taking all of the liability and responsibility to pay the victims. The new company then files for bankruptcy, forcing plaintiffs to spend years trying to receive the compensation they deserve, while the parent company continues business as usual.
Yeah, this is a real
Companies
issue,
that have
bro.
attempted this maneuver include Johnson & Johnson, which face class action lawsuits over claims that its talcum powder caused cancer, and Georgia Pacific, which is facing lawsuits over asbestos exposure.
Damn.
When I came to Congress, I promised my constituents I would fight for them, not for billionaires or large corporations. That's why last Congress I introduced the Ending Corporate Bankruptcy Abuse Act alongside my colleague, the gentleman from Texas, Lance Gooden, to address this very issue. My bill, which has bicameral and bipartisan support, would deter corporations from abusing bankruptcy protections and ensure that injury victims can get their day in court. I hope to continue the work with your offices to raise awareness of this issue, hold companies accountable, and put an end to this harmful practice. Mr. Chair, I've worked for 2 bankruptcy judges as a judicial assistant and as a law clerk. And one thing that was quite apparent was virtually every single debtor that was in bankruptcy had medical debt. It was either what led them to bankruptcy or exacerbated their financial situation. And I look forward to working with members of this committee, as well as all of Congress, to ensure that the bankruptcy code works for the honest yet unfortunate debtor and not just for large corporations. Mr. Chairman, I would also like to discuss my bill, the Law Enforcement Scenario-Based Training for Safety and De-Escalation Act, which I am proud to lead with Representatives Don Bacon, Brian Fitzpatrick, and Glenn Ivey. This is an important issue for my community. In Akron and Canton, as we mourn the loss of Jalen Walker, who was killed by police 3 years ago, and Frank Tyson, who died while in police custody a year ago. We must work to improve relationships between law enforcement and the community members that they are sworn to protect in order to restore trust and safety. By investing in real-world scenario-based training, we can give our law enforcement the de-escalation skills they need to keep themselves and our community safe. This training can help officers develop the situational awareness to handle complex, high-stakes situations, such as encountering individuals suffering from mental illness, suicidal crises, or domestic violence, and equips them with greater cultural situational sensitivity. It has been shown that training officers with these skills results in fewer injuries, deaths, and excessive use of force incidents for civilians and officers. Importantly, this bill is budget neutral and allows smaller
I can't understand
communities
what
who
you're
may not
saying,
have the
man.
means to pay for such a training to do so, but it also has garnered widespread support from stakeholders like the Fraternal Order of Police and the Akron branch of the NAACP. After the shooting deaths of both Jalen and Frank, both communities asked what could be done to de-escalate tense interventions between law enforcement and the officers and the citizens that they protect and serve. I am proud to deliver this truly appropriate and timely bill, and I urge its passage. Our communities and our law enforcement members are asking for this. It is a common sense bipartisan bill, and I look forward to taking any questions you may have.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you so much, and my best to your family. Tell your dad we said hello, and we appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Chair now recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Knott, for an introduction of our next member testimony.
Now, real quick, Amelia Sykes, great member from Akron, University of Florida grad. I'm not a Gators fan, but I guess go Gators. Great member, really great issues. Now, the biggest thing that I kind of see sometimes, I do get into it where, you know, hey, people be like, hey, Phil, you share a lot of Jasmine Crockett. Like, listen, that's the only thing people know sometimes. But there are great elected officials out there. And Amelia Sykes, I feel, is one of them. And the bigger thing, let me actually go back here so I can put a face with a name right for the clip. Right? Wait, that's not a good one. Wait, hold on, she's looking up. Oh, not up. Wait. Can I get looking at the camera? Shit, reading the whole time? My God. Anyway, Amelia Sykes, a great member representing Ohio, LeBron's home city, Akron, Ohio. And across the board, outside of that, you really see a different side of leadership, right? Because even a Jim Jordan shouting out Amelia Sykes' dad at the end comes from a legacy family in politics. So it's a fact of like, you know what? You know people that are coming for the headlines, for the media, then you know people that are actually coming for the issues. And I think that when you're talking about issues like bankruptcy, people don't really worry about that until they're in that situation, right? Or at least if they're a vendor, like, hey, they filed bankruptcy, but the parent company, like she said, they owe me $100,000, they owe me $5 million that, you know, I want to give to a congressional campaign type shit, right? And they get in that situation, even no bullshit, the Steve Ballmer, Kawhi Leonard situation, right? With the Pablo, when he was exposing all the quote unquote underpayments through this Experian company, it all gets exposed to bankruptcy. And it's like, okay, these people owe me money. And, you know, basically, how do they pay? Because, you know, most likely they're not going to. And all that put together is really, I hate to say it, kind of like breast cancer. It's not something that most people care about. Most people care about until they're impacted by it. And that's one of those things to say, at least you have members working for things that aren't just a hot button, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, right? Because I do think it gets kind of sickening to think that you're basically putting everybody out there basically in a poor, destitute situation. That's what you think they are, right? It's never about business growing. It's never about these other things that really tap a niche audience, whether it's veterans, business owners, people in medical debt. It's like, it's never a lot of those issues discussed. It's always, oh, you know, health insurance. But, well, shit, if you got $20,000 in medical debt and I can't afford the current insurance, and it's been an issue that y'all discussed for the past 40 years of my life, why should I really give a care that y'all are actually give a fuck or actually going to change this? And I think that's the other part, right? But let's keep on going and see who's next testifying. Next man up.
This is our innovator. Satellite. He's a veteran. He is a father dealing with foreign adversaries to this country. He has an important piece of legislation that deals with external attacks. I know he will get your full consideration, and it's my privilege to introduce Representative Pat Harrigan to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman from North Carolina is
They're
recognized.
trying to scoot them ass, scoot their ass down.
Thanks to Representative Knott for that kind introduction, and Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the committee, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about a bill that goes straight to the heart of our national security. We are facing an unprecedented wave of espionage from statutorily designated foreign adversaries, and the response from our legal system has been far too weak. My bill, H.R. 4081, the Foreign Adversary Federal Offense Act, fixes that. It creates mandatory minimum sentences of 10 years for economic espionage and 15 years for defense espionage. It also doubles the penalties for intellectual property theft committed on behalf of foreign adversaries. If you steal for Beijing or some other hostile power, you should expect to spend a long time in federal prison. The scale of this threat is staggering, and I'd like to lay it out for you. In April, former Army analyst Corbin Schultz sold missile defense data, satellite intelligence, and deployment plans to someone working with the Chinese government. For betraying his country, Mr. Schultz was paid $42,000. Despite this blatant violation of his oath, he was sentenced to only 84 months in prison. In August, 2 U.S. Navy sailors, Jin Chao Wei and Wen Hang Zhao, provided Chinese intelligence with ship blueprints, weapons systems, and troop movements. They were trusted with our national security, and they sold it off. In 2022, Broadcom engineer Kisang Kim stole more than 500 chip design files for a Chinese tech startup.
Yeah.
He openly admitted that he did it to help China compete with the United States and received only 8 months in prison. Meanwhile, the FBI estimates, and this is corroborated by our work on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, that up to $600 billion in American intellectual property is stolen every single year, almost all of it by China. This is our innovation, our technology, and our military advantage walking right out the door. People who spy for our enemies can cripple our military, damage our economy, and leave our critical infrastructure exposed. Yet far too often they get a very small fine or a far too short of a sentence. Our current guidelines are not a deterrent. They actually invite more theft, more betrayal, and more risk. We need to make it unmistakably clear that if you betray your oath, violate your uniform, or sell out our country for a few dollars, you will face the full force of the United States government. H.R. 4081 delivers that clarity. A mandatory double-digit sentence will make potential spies think twice before choosing China over their own nation. I look forward to working with every member of this committee to get this bill across the finish line. My team and I welcome your input and certainly welcome your support. This is about protecting the American people and strengthening the security of the country that we serve and love. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you, Representative. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for your legislation that you've brought forward. Chair now recognizes.
Actually, I'm going to go to the House floor. We got Ayanna Pressley, the Democrat from Massachusetts, on the floor. Let me switch over. Give me 1 second, y'all. Ooh, is that going to be it? No, that ain't that. I'd be so smooth to switch over sometimes, and it really don't be. But it is what it is, man. Thank y'all for tapping in. About 30 of y'all here right now. Real chill, early vibe. We don't pick up in the afternoons. I may end this and pick back up after lunch. But we'll see what Ayanna Pressley has to say.
The names Bishop Dickerson and Lady Luella have been synonymous with truth, justice, and love. And their love of community, love for all God's children, is evident in their spiritual guidance every Sunday and made manifest in their good deeds in community Monday through Saturday. From the pulpit to the classroom, from City Hall to behind the incarcerated walls, Bishop Dickerson and Lady Luella have saved generations of souls, changed and saved lives. They have lived a life dedicated to God, their ministry, their city, their marriage, and their family. It is only fitting that Greater Love Tabernacle's 36 years of service are now an indelible part of the congressional record to serve as a permanent inspiration to us all. Madam Speaker, I rise to honor the life and legacy of the Honorable Judge Leslie Harris, a father, husband, grandfather, mentor, and champion for justice in Massachusetts. Raised in Chicago, he journeyed to Boston, where he earned advanced degrees, planted roots, and dedicated his life to public service. In the courtroom, first as a probation officer, then as a public defender, then as the chief of the juvenile division of the Suffolk County DA's office, Judge Harris inspired generations. He possessed a fine legal mind and an altruistic heart. He saw every person as worthy of dignity, of opportunity, and compassion. He will forever be remembered as a kind titan of a man who showed up for everyone, for his beloved members at the Elliott Church of Roxbury, for students at Roxbury Community College. He was there for young children experiencing abuse and neglect. He was there defending Black men viciously targeted and criminalized in the Charles Stewart case. He was there supporting marriage equality to facilitate the first ever adoption by a gay couple in Massachusetts. He was there for people from all walks of life. And I can feel that he is here with us today. His spirit straightens our backs and lifts our chin to motivate us in the pursuit of justice. May he rest in peace and power. Madam Speaker, I rise today to honor the life and legacy of my dear friend and brother, former Newton Mayor Seti Warren, a trailblazer, the first popularly elected Black mayor in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Seti was a loving son, brother, husband, and father who I had the privilege of working closely alongside when we were both aides to United States Senator John Kerry. He was always ready with thoughtful counsel, an easy and deep laugh, kind eyes that twinkled. He radiated life and optimism. Seti accomplished so much in his short 55 years here with us. He was a dedicated mayor, veteran, and public servant from the White House to Capitol Hill to City Hall. As the director of the Harvard Institute of Politics, he led pivotal conversations that stoked our consciousness and reminded us of our shared humanity, all the while inspiring a new generation of public service leaders. Seti had so much life left to live, milestones to experience, hearts to touch and lives to change. My heart goes out to his wife, Tassie, and their children, Abigail and John. Know that your Cary family, your Boston College family, the city of Newton, and your Harvard family mourn alongside you. What a tremendous loss for our country, our Commonwealth, and for humanity. Rest in power, my friend.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Taylor, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize Ken Stewart. Ken is a proud resident of Ohio's 2nd Congressional
So this is just a memorial for the most part. No, rest in peace, Ken. Let's see what these.
Calling me a quote.
What we're talking about.
Chaco Canyon is not for sale. And with that, I yield back.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Comer, for 5 minutes.
It's slow news day, bro, without Trump, for real.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've taken to the floor today to respond to Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling me a quote, stone cold liar during a press conference defending the recent discovery of Democrats' communication with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, damn.
And I bring with me something that he and many of his fellow Democrats like Jamie Raskin, Jasmine Crockett, and Stacey Plaskett apparently detest. And that is a thing called evidence. Tuesday, I gave a speech on the House floor detailing my House Oversight Committee's good work to date on our Epstein investigation.
Thoughts on, Chair?
Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrats in Congress, and your allies in the corporate media have been demanding a full release of the Epstein documents for months, including all the documents from the Epstein estate.
Right.
So without hesitation, I subpoenaed all of the Jeffrey Epstein estate documents because I, as well as my Republican colleagues on the House Oversight Committee, we want to know what really happened.
Right.
What went on.
Right.
Who was involved in these unspeakable crimes?
Unspeakable crime.
We want justice for the survivors.
Amen.
That's why we're doing this investigation.
Okay.
So House Oversight obtained over 30,000 pages of documents from the estate. Unlike the Democrats, who only released 10 of those over 30,000 pages of documents, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee released every single document on the website for the American people to see. Democrats and many in the media were anxiously clutching their pearls in anticipation of potential dirt on President Trump. In the end, after full transparency by the Republicans on the Oversight Committee, there was nothing new about the president's former relationship with Epstein, and certainly nothing scandalous. But we did find two sitting Democrat members of Congress had communication with Epstein. First, it's been highly reported and debated about Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett texting during an Oversight Committee hearing with Jeffrey Epstein while trying to conspire with him to hurt or embarrass Donald Trump.
Y'all ain't going wrong with this boy.
But according to Jamie Raskin, that was okay because Mr. Epstein was her constituent. Now, how embarrassing a rationale is that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any good sense, y'all,
The
to be for real.
communication was this email right here, where Hakeem Jeffries' campaign reached out directly to Jeffrey Epstein, soliciting campaign dollars for the quote, Brooklyn Barack. Now, whereas Jamie Raskin explained Plaskett's communication with Epstein as simply responding to a constituent, Hakeem Jeffries had a very different response when asked about it by the media. He denied its existence. Hakeem Jeffries said Comer is a stone-cold liar, and then he reverted to calling me names for the second week in a row.
What did he call you, Comer?
Let's read it to make sure. to Jeffrey Epstein, and that's the real Jeffrey Epstein, not Jasmine Crockett's Jeffrey Epstein.
They know,
Real
my
Jeffrey
God.
Epstein. From Hakeem Jeffrey's campaign. Dear Jeffrey, we are thrilled that we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the rising stars of the New York delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack. Hakeem
wait a good damn minute. Wait a minute. Hakeem Jeffries, you were telling people you Brooklyn's Barack when they calling you Timu Obama?
Yes! Fuck you too!
I can't believe you would tell people some bullshit like that. What? What? Come on, man. What?
His friends to participate in a DCCC fundraising dinner with President Obama and Hakeem Jeffries. It ends with a number for Jeffrey Epstein to call to go to the dinner and, quote, get an opportunity to get to know Hakeem better. Here's the evidence. The email speaks for itself. The only stone-cold liar in this debate is Hakeem Jeffries.
That's crazy.
So, Mr. Minority Leader, take a deep breath. Chill out.
Oh, damn.
Stop lying.
Damn.
Stop with the juvenile name calling.
Damn.
And own up to the fact that your campaign solicited campaign cash from Jeffrey Epstein.
The chair recognizes the
Hey.
gentleman.
You gotta love politics, baby. You gotta love politics, baby. Remember, I tell them, this isn't black on black crime. This is white on white crime. This is caucasity at its best. And it's a linguist. I don't even have a word. It's a damn orator's battle. That wasn't the word I was gonna go for immediately. But like, bruh, that's a bomb right there. Jeffrey Epstein, Hakeem Jeffries, and Jeffrey Epstein.
Speaker,
Brooklyn's Barack.
I rise today to honor the profound courage and sacrifice of a woman whose story embodies the enduring struggle for freedom and human dignity in Iran. A woman known simply and lovingly as Aziz, meaning...
Rest in peace, Mrs. Aziz. Give you those couple minutes before we go in. This is Aaron Bean. Big Bean in the house.
If you drive through Clay County in Northeast Florida this time of year, you might just catch the sweet scent of sugarcane drifting through the air. Follow that aroma and you'll likely find Gayward Hendry at the kettle, turning cane into syrup and neighbors into friends. Today, Madam Speaker, I rise to recognize Gayward Hendry for receiving the 2025 Distinguished Service Award from the Florida Farm Bureau, the highest honor for a lifetime of leadership in Florida agriculture. Gayward's service has been extraordinary.
That's my congressman right there, y'all.
A county commissioner and the longtime president of the Clay County Farm Bureau, in every role he has led with integrity, grit, and a deep love for the land. He has mentored young farmers through 4-H, supported students through the Katie Hendry Memorial Scholarship, and welcomed generations of future leaders to his family farm to experience firsthand the traditions of Florida agriculture. Madam Speaker, whether he's grinding cane or guiding the next
politics is that, bro. Good and born.
Challenges ahead, Gayward shows what it means to serve with purpose and to keep a community growing together. Madam Speaker, with Gayward Hendry around, life is truly sweeter. I yield back.
Oh, sweet. Nice little memorial. For my congressman, Aaron Bean, he represents my area for what it is. But we got to get to the Stacey Plaskett piece, because now, I'll tell you this. There's an attorney from Texas. They call it a pardon attorney. Tammy Allison. And she's been on Stacey Plaskett fight for years. Years, right? And actually, before this interview, let's go to the full remarks she gave on the floor. I missed that yesterday, right? I actually had to do some lobbyist work. You know, people may say, I saw it coming earlier. I don't research all the stuff. Guess what? I'm not at the stage of this channel where we're going to start researching or sharing the research that I'm actually doing and the projects I'm working on, right? If we get to 10,000 before Christmas, that's the goal. So help hit that subscribe button. Go to the channel, get there. But let's actually hear what Stacey Plaskett had to say on the floor yesterday regarding her text messages with Jeffrey Epstein, supposedly texting with Jeffrey Epstein while she was, or victims were testifying before a committee, which is kind of crazy to me. So let's hear these full remarks. Then we'll come back to this Forbes interview that dropped as well, or CNN interview, wherever this is, excuse me, and we'll go from there.
You heard, I yield 6 minutes now to the distinguished gentlelady from Virgin Islands, Representative Plaskett.
Thank you so much to Mr. Raskin, to my former professor in law school, and I want to address the body. I first want to give you all a sense of what was happening that day. Everyone knows at that hearing in February, the entire country was watching. As Michael Cohen decided he was going to finally give up information about what was happening in the Trump world.
Oh, the glasses off, game time.
And at the beginning of that hearing, the ranking member, Jim Jordan, had the disrespect to Elijah Cummings, may he rest in peace and his name be a memory, after not allowing Mr. Jordan to shut the committee hearing down. And I turned to Mr. Jordan and told him to have respect for the chair and to basically shut up. And that moment went viral. And I began to get innumerable texts from friends, from foes, from constituents about what was happening in that hearing. And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent, who was not public knowledge at that time that he was under federal investigation, and who was sharing information with me. Now, I heard recently from someone that I was seeking advice from him. Let me tell you something. I don't need to get advice on how to question anybody from any individual. I have been a lawyer for 30 years.
Talk to him.
I have been a narcotics prosecutor
What I gotta do
in
with
New
this?
York City. I have had the honor of being a political appointee at the Justice Department after September 11th as a Republican appointee in the Bush administration. I know how to question individuals. I know how to seek information. I have sought information from confidential informants, from murderers, from other individuals, because I want the truth, not because I need them to tell me what to say. And if you look at the transcript, you will see that I questioned Michael Cohen for 5 minutes. The Washington Post only shows you 30 seconds and takes from it one individual's name that I got from Jeffrey Epstein and didn't know who the individual was, and put that individual with a host of other individuals that I felt the committee should subpoena. They've never been subpoenaed. They've never been questioned. Because at the end of the day, I know that in the Trump administration and with my colleagues over there, it's not about sexual assault. It's not about support of victims. It's about money. It is about money. I have consistently stood against sexual violence and the exploitation of women and children in previous careers as well as here in this body. We all know that Jeffrey Epstein's actions were absolutely reprehensible. As a constituent, as an individual who gave donations to me, when I learned of the extent of his actions after his investigation, I gave that money to women's organizations in my community. Not back to him, but to women in the community who needed that support. That's what I think should have been done, and that's what I did. They've taken a text exchange which shows no participation, no assistance, no involvement in any illegal activity, and weaponized it for political theater. Because that's what this is. This has been reviewed by federal courts. Any charges, victims who initially had a case against me dismissed it on their own without prejudice. You don't want to talk about what is really happening here. Your attacks on working families, your protection of powerful predators and corporate criminals. You want to talk about texting felons? How often do you text President Donald J. Trump? That's the individual we should be concerned about. And let me tell you this. I am not going to support the wealthy and connected who continue to exploit workers and evade taxes. Powerful individual we should be.
Hold on. Y'all gotta see this. I ain't bullshit. I gotta go back so y'all can see this. Watch. Oh, wait. I'm gonna put it up here. Hold on. There we go. I'm gonna get the full. Let me get the full remark here.
Corporate criminals. You want to talk about attacks on working families.
Here we watch it.
Your protection of powerful predators and corporate criminals. You want to talk about texting felons. How often do you text President Donald J. Trump?
Watch
That's the individual we should be concerned about. And let me tell you this. I am not going to support the wealthy and connected.
Hey, no bullshit all the time. One more time.
Texting felons. How often do you text working families? Your protection of powerful predators and corporate criminals.
No, that's ain't it. I gotta get the full bottom. Hold on, let me get this right at the bottom. So my people can get a full glimpse of this shit. This is hilarious. This is about to be fucking hilarious. See how angry she is? But hey, black woman with some glasses, some chocolate women with some glasses, they be on it. Well, listen. This is why I love politics. I don't even know which representative this is. This U.S. rep right here, I need on the show. Watch this.
Attacks on working families.
Watch.
Your protection of powerful predators and corporate criminals. You want to talk about texting felons. How often do you text President Donald J. Trump?
Ooh, watch it.
That's the individual we should be concerned about. And let me tell you this. I am not going to support the wealthy and connected who continue to exploit workers and evade
Y'all think
taxes.
it's just me? It ain't me.
Powerful figures with credible allegations who face no consequences, and corporate interests profiting from human suffering while families struggle. And let me tell the people of the Virgin Islands.
Talk to them.
Gentleman will state his point of order.
The point of order is you may not call the President of the United States a felon.
Oh shit, it went down like that?
That is a violation.
Point of order is under consideration, and we're not going to lose order here either, so please.
May I continue? May I continue, Mr.
Members
Speaker?
are, however, reminded to refrain, as mentioned a little while ago, from making personality commentary towards the president. The point of order is not timely, so the gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What is happening here? I feel sorry for my colleagues. I feel sorry for this body. I see members coming and speaking against me who I've never even had a conversation with. You don't know me. You don't know the work that I've done. You don't know the support that I've given to families, to individuals, to support people. I worked a full-time job with children under the age of 5, going to school, law school at night. Do you think I would risk my law degree for any individual? Never mind a reprehensible individual by Jeffrey Epstein, I would not. But what I'm about is the truth. And let me tell the people of the Virgin Islands, this attempt at intimidation will pass. We in the Virgin Islands do not back down from a fight. That is how we won our freedom, And that is how we will continue to grow our equality. And if you censure me, take away a committee, I will still do the work because I am here to support people and to support this great Constitution, which I have sworn numerous times to uphold.
Hey, so that's really what's at stake. Now let's go to, no, not Jasmine Crockett.
Well, you know, first I want to thank the Democrats, the Democratic caucus, not only for voting with me, but for speaking on my behalf during the general debate, as well as those members in the Republican Party who voted with the Democrats and those who tacitly voted with us by either voting present or not voting at all during the censure. And I'm hopeful that we can now get back to the work that we do in Congress rather than the political theater that has been happening. The files have been released, which I have been in favor of all along, and let's let the victims get their justice and let us get to the work of Congress. We've been on over a 70-day paid time off. Democrats have been doing town halls, coming back to Congress. Republicans have been nowhere in sight, and the people of this country are in need of our support and of the work that needs to be done.
We know that Epstein had property in the Virgin Islands, right?
Yes.
What was your relationship with Epstein?
So Jeffrey Epstein was a constituent. He was a resident of the Virgin Islands, lived there, I guess, more than half of the year because he was registered there. I had received donations from him after the last investigation came out, which was after this texting. I gave any donations that I had previously received from him to women's organizations and did not have any contact with him. But like many constituents, individuals get your phone number, they text you about issues, they speak with you. I have spoken with him about issues that are relevant, things that are going on in the Virgin Islands and elsewhere around the country.
Right, but on that day that we're talking about, you initiated the text exchange at 7:55 in the morning. So why were you even texting with Epstein at the time? He was a known sex offender then.
Sure. You know, I explain to people, I've been a prosecutor for many years. And there are a lot of people who have information that are not your friends, that you use to get information to get at the truth. This was 7 years ago, and people need to understand this was a huge hearing that was taking place with Michael Cohen finally coming forward to talk about monies that he had with the hush money, potential hush money that had been paid to Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet about the allegations against Trump. We were entering a hearing. Lots of people were texting me. Lots of people were giving me information. And I find it really interesting and almost rich that the Washington Post took 30 seconds, one set of question line that I did, and say that Epstein was directing me as to what to question Michael Cohen. I have 5 minutes of questioning. I had a lot of questions, 20 years of experience that I had at the time, along with other information I was getting from many sources about issues that should have been raised. And I also want to say that the issues that I raised in that hearing related to individuals who were closest to the president and who could know about money has never been looked into.
Right, and we have the full transcript right here. But, you know, no doubt you have an impressive resume, right? You're a former federal prosecutor, you were an impeachment manager. But yes or no, if Epstein had not brought up Rona to you in that text, would you have asked Michael Cohen about her independently?
Probably not. I asked about 3 other individuals as well. Everyone knew, other people knew that this woman had been the president's assistant. I talked about other individuals who were also close to him that other people had given me information about, that I'd found other information about. And there were other issues that I talked with him about as well, Michael Cohen, that I brought up during that time. Right. So as a prosecutor, as an investigator, you glean information, get information where you can. Some of it is relevant, some of it is not, and you put it all together and you ask the questions.
And I understand you're saying, look, he was a constituent, right? And whether or not they're good or bad, you're just trying to get information to get to the truth. But at this time, this was happening after he had already pleaded guilty to state prostitution charges. And then there was that Miami Herald article that came out in 2018 detailing how widespread the sexual abuse was, interviewing 80 women who said that he sexually abused her. So abuse them, I should say. So I'm wondering, as you look back Do you
working,
think that
we
it
need
was
to
an
double.
error in judgment to be communicating with him at all? Do you have any regrets?
Well, listen, I think Jeffrey Epstein is a reprehensible person, absolutely disgusting. I lived in a house during childhood with a mother who had been sexually abused by her dad. And I know the effect that that had on her, as well as us as her family. And so I understand what the victims are going through, and I want them to get their their justice, their peace out of this. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth.
I'm gonna pause it there. Tucker Carlson's live. I honestly don't know what to believe on this because Epstein was arrested after the fact of that text message, but it's kind of it's almost no bullshit. Let me go back to the face of it, right? In politics, it's not uncommon for people to be texting members during committees. So I want to first throw that out there. So any kind of notion of, okay, you're getting questions from the outside world is one thing. For the Epstein case, it's kind of crazy that the question would be asked understanding what we know about Epstein now. All in all put together, I do think that it's very interesting, but there are some people who've been coming after Stacey Plaskett for years. And I think this kind of fits their narrative. You can go look up young lady, Tammy Allison out of Texas. She got her own issues, but she's been after Plaskett for a minute. So either way, let me get up to Tucker Carlson here.
Down on it, they're lying. So
I voted MAGA 3 times. My generation, just like you said, is convinced they can't trust the institutions and the administration, even this administration after last Monday. America first means America first, not foreign governments, not rich pedophiles. I have a lot more about the history, but I'm going to get through it out of respect for everybody. Basically, my questions are this.
Constituents do have Congress's personal cell phone numbers. I don't know what part of the game you at.
Pay taxes, accept draft orders if these elites are not held accountable, right? And how am I anti-Semitic? My great-grandfather killed Nazis, and I brag about it. My mother's doctor was a Holocaust survivor, and everyone calls Trump a Nazi. My family in Chicago and my family in Ireland, which are both liberal hellholes, right? And it's pretty convenient that if he did criticize Israel, everyone could just say, look, I told you so, but that's not the point. Anyways, and finally, and by how am I anti-Semitic when all my sources are Jewish, Israeli publications, and Holocaust survivors? And finally, and by far the most important, why can I burn an American flag in my country, but I get a mark by my name if I burn Israel's? Like, how?
It's hilarious. So I noticed everyone's been talking about Epstein tonight, and I want to kind of differ from the crowd a little bit in saying that I watched Ben Shapiro yesterday, and before you boo me, I thought he made a really solid point. He's like, it happened a long time ago. Who cares? And by the way, we should trust the government and whatever the bureaucrats tell us. And by the way, it's wrong to ask a lot of unauthorized questions. So I just want to go on the record to say I think that's absurd. And it's exactly the kind of thinking that I personally voted against in the last election. In the last election, I spent a lot of the month of October campaigning with and for the president. I voted for the president. I never vote for anybody generally. I know they're always telling you must vote or you can't have an opinion. Oh, shut up.
Yeah, I don't want to say what's happening. I'm going to just go back to some other clips from yesterday's congressional hearings. I know Judiciary is back live at 12. Let's watch this today.
Technical and conforming changes. So to notice, I call up 57.
Hold on, I make me switch this one. Yeah, it's 10 minutes here instead of 40.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and apologies if this question has already been asked, but I like to hear things with my own ears. So, Mr. Yang, what is the census sort of used for? Why do we conduct this onerous process?
The principle used for the census is twofold. One is for the apportionment of Congress, the apportionment of seats in Congress. And the second is to get an accurate count of the population. So when we're distributing funds, whether it's $2.2 trillion in federal funds or state and local funds, that we're distributing in the right way. What that means literally is where roads are built, where schools are built, what services are needed in different communities. For businesses, what that means is what stores get built and what you stock in those shelves of those stores. I live in Fairfax County. The fact that our Costco has approximately seven different types of rice is a reflection of the fact that Fairfax County is about 20% Asian American.
Thank you for that. So, I would agree with that, right? Someone who lives in, a city, a county, a state, we're always fighting to get the resources that we need, and it's important to know how many people, regardless of where they come from, regardless of who they are, what they look like, right? What language they speak, what rice they like. It's important to know how many people are in a place so you know how many hospitals to have, how many schools to have, how many parks to have. Am I missing something here?
People actually.
No, it is as very basic as that. And again, the point is to get an accurate count. One of the things that we've been talking about here is sort of what affects accuracy. And we've talked specifically about Texas and Florida as being inaccurate counts. Well, I would point out that in the case of Florida, the state government only allocated $300,000 to count for the entire state, compared to the state of Alabama, a much smaller state, which allocated $1.2 million to the count of their residents. So how you do your get out the count operations will translate into how accurate the real results will be. There is a correlation there.
Yeah,
and I do understand that it seems like my Republican colleagues.
And to pause it there remember on Florida lobbyists, that part is kind of known because it was a lack of funding on top of the citizenship question that was on the census that we knew would have an impact. So quietly, even for the chess move that Republicans are making now to redraw districts December 4th and things of that nature, it was kind of the play to say, listen, we're not going to fund it because we understand if we represent more, we're going to have to probably draw a lot more Democratic seats to be fair, right? I think that there are a lot of areas, Jacksonville included, where you could have had whole seats, but they drew them collectively to make sure they were represented how they wanted to make sure that Trump or whoever at the time had whatever Republican numbers they needed in Congress. Cool. So all that put together, it was a domino effect to get here to where, again, there's a chess move being played, and a lot of the Democrats are playing checkers with it, right? Especially black folks, to be all the way for real and honest about it. Because when you're playing the game the right way, like even Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, right? If you care about the people that you're representing in Palm Beach and Broward County in the district, then you would also look at the fact of like, damn, if and when this shit blows up, how will the people I'm serving be impacted, right? And when you don't have any ties to any of the Republican leadership, nobody gives a fuck about it. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's going to make a difference, but it does in some aspect. Like, you know what? This is a fraternity, sorority, a brotherhood, and whatever, of people who are going to stab each other in the back and look out for their friends, right? And I do think that a part of it is all the people that are impacted goes back to the main point of this, the census. They do the stuff with the census to help dilute and converge so that if and when we do take control, we take the Supreme Court, we have the legislature, we have a supermajority in the state, and all these other things start dominoing, kicking in, that we can go ahead and redraw. This is not a fucking coincidence. It's not a coincidence that they're redrawing maps in certain states without doing a census, right? Because now when the census money gets deployed, it's like, you know what, even in 2030, they'll be like, well, technically, why should we redraw the maps? We've been talking about these maps for 10 years. We know where people are. It'll just be the census. And the census data essentially will tell you, yes, you actually lost a seat, you gained a seat. And that's the part that's fucking it up. So instead of, and just pulling numbers out of thin air here, instead of Florida maybe accounting for the 23 million people we have, we're only maybe accounting for 18, 19, right? And that difference is a couple congressional seats. If it's 760,000 per congressional seat, there's 2 or 3 seats, right? They want 5, they're gonna get 2 or 3 seats minimum. But at the same time, it's like, there has to be a point of like, okay, how are you drawing these maps without a census? Because if you're basing them off whatever, how are we doing it without a whole embodiment of where every American or every citizen is in this country? Family, not income. Like, I think some stuff is needed, but not needed, but just get a head count. And that's the thing I think is going to maybe be a October, November surprise next year. Be like, wait a minute. We redrew these districts in California to pick up 5 seats, but we didn't anticipate new Republican voters who are in these areas that have made this not a blue seat, but a purple seat. That's what I anticipate, but you never know.
Want to get rid of every single foreign-born person, in this country, as though it boggles the mind. Because
I would object. I think that is attacking. I think that is attacking individuals. I think that is attacking individuals.
Mr. Chairman, could you restore the order?
I made an opinion. I can have an opinion.
Is the gentlelady asking to strike?
I am. I'm asking to strike those words, accusing us of that level of racism.
It's not racist. If you think it, it's my opinion. I think I have a right to an opinion.
We'll suspend for 1 second.
Oh. You heard that? That was
the gentlelady,
not my bad.
Express the specific words you're asking to be
Specifically,
stricken.
what she stated was that the people on the other side wanted all foreign people to be removed from the country. And that's absolutely
As I mentioned,
untrue.
Mr. Chair,
And that
it's
is an
my
attack on every
opinion. I have a
person
right
on
to
this
my
side of the
opinion.
aisle.
I said I
am
believe-
tired of the allegations of racism.
Mr. Chairman, that's
suspend for a second.
I didn't use race at all.
Let me suspend for 1 moment.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, that's not engaging in personalities. It's not an ad hominem attack.
Yes,
she
it is.
disagrees. She can use her own time to explain why she disagrees.
Everyone suspend for 1 moment.
Hey, shit getting out of control. I'm gonna get a hammer. When I get my desktop done, y'all see, I like the light. I'm gonna get the desktop done, and I'm gonna get a little hammer, like a chairman be doing when shit get out of control. Like, wait a minute, I'm adding to the soundboard. That's what I'm gonna do. I have 15 slots.
Gentleman
Really,
from Wyoming, are you
14 slots.
withdrawing the request to strike the words from the
Yes,
gentlelady?
just want to
No,
point
you
out
about
the
4.
allegations are absolutely unsubstantiated, and it is
Mr. Chairman, could you instruct her to point it out on her own time?
Damn.
Reclaiming the time for the gentlelady from California, please proceed. We'll restore the clock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I don't want to use my own time saying, but I guess now perspectives and opinions are no longer important here in this committee. That seems like it would be a shame. Mr. Yang, we were talking about the census, and the question is, it kind of doesn't matter where you come from if you're someplace, if you're using resources, it would be important for that jurisdiction, for that municipality to know that you are there. I mean, where I come from, if you get sick, you should go to the hospital. And the hospital's not supposed to say, well, who are you? Let me see all of your paperwork. I think the doctors take a Hippocratic oath to help anyone who's coming in bleeding, who would be wanting to need or use the resources that are available to them in that hospital. Do you understand sort of the question that I'm asking about why it's important just to know who is in a particular place?
That's absolutely right. With respect to public services, with respect to roads, that immigration status does not matter when it comes to the need for good roads, the need for good public services. And making sure we have an accurate count of our entire population. And again, if you even go to Supreme Court precedent in Ewenwell, they recognize that you should be doing total population counts, whole population counts for purpose of apportionment. The history on this has been very clear that the census is designed to count the entire population.
Thank you for that. You know, as I look at all of my questions, not
Now, real quick, I'm going to switch over to an issue we're actually having here in Florida. And again, I don't really discuss a lot of Florida politics, but I am on this issue because it's regarding property taxes. I think Florida's going to be the first state that's going to essentially look to eliminate property taxes in the state of Florida. And it's going to have a major shift and change on how things operate in this state. So what I want to do is switch over. Let me change my property to Florida House. Nope, not that one. Wait. Is that the one? No, it's not showing there. Oh, here we go. Now, I know some of y'all, I may lose a lot of y'all because it's not national politics, it's Florida politics, but I'm going to tap in for what we need.
Fine on that, sir. Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think it's going to be up to the local government to make those decisions. You know, we're going to put them to charge to make that decision. It's not going to be something that's in this draft. It's also going to come in legislation next year or next session.
Additional questions? Yes, ma'am. Representative Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning or afternoon, Rep. Would you concede then that if a local government moved to, let's say, increasing a sales tax in order to make up for some of the revenue lost under this joint resolution, that would cause a heavier burden on families who are of lower income than those who are not?
You're recognized to answer that if you can.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the question. I'm not sure I'd be able to answer that. That's an assumption that I can't make. You know, I wouldn't imagine that it would cost more for somebody who is low income versus somebody who is a high earner. So can't make that assumption.
And I would say also, if the voters want to have a referendum done that allows for that to happen, again, we're putting it back into the voters' hands of that municipality that would choose to do that. So if there was a higher sales tax there as a mechanism that you're talking about, that would go.
Oh, what happened? Y'all just saying me. What the hell?
It's like they would make the choice to accept.
My bad, y'all.
Certain proposal. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that, but to clarify, it's not that I had a question about the mechanism, it's more about the impact.
My bad. I forgot to keep this window open all the time.
I think they can only raise it 1 cent without a referendum. So.
Oh, looking at me and shit, looking into the camera.
Yes, Representative. Another question. Yes, please. Representative Gonzalez-Pitton. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, can you please go over your thought process on how you came up with this? Because it seems quite drastic, eliminating property sales on homestead exemption. Where did you get that idea?
Representative Steele.
Well, I appreciate the question. We had a committee. Obviously, this entire committee meeting has been around property taxes since March. I ran 3 bills last session that were pointed at property taxes. I'm the only person in my delegation that actually went to the county commissioner meetings and debated them on the budget that they were proposing. My biggest push was we should not be charging property tax on your asset that you have on increasing the value every single year. It's the only asset that you buy that has continued to go up year over year, and it shouldn't be that case. We still have to maintain the house. You have to replace the roof, redo your carpets, whatever you're doing to your house to maintain it. But you know, if you own a business, you have tangible taxes, but those tangible taxes on diminished value. And this is the only asset that you buy that actually goes up in value. So it's.
In a sense, I haven't read through Representative Steele's proposal, but what it sounds like essentially is that, and the governor said this to an extent, you have a house, you buy it at $400,000. It's Florida, ain't shit cheap. So you buy a house at $400,000. Over time, that house is appreciated at $800,000, but you haven't sold the house. You still live in the house. You still basically paying the mortgage on that $400,000 piece of property. But the property taxes are not telling you that piece of property you purchased is worth $800,000. So you need to pay more in property taxes. So instead of you maybe paying $10,000 a year, now you're at the $24,000, $30,000 a year. That ends up being an issue because even though you've seen the equity gains, you don't really see it until you take out a HELOC, where you tap into the equity of that home, or you sell the property. And even then, if you have a homestead, the main person that's going to feel it is the person that buys that house for $800,000 or $900,000 down the line, right? So when you get into it, this is a conversation about, one, where are we going to go with property taxes in the state, and two, the impact. Because also it's a fact of, okay, if more people move to a city, more people move to a county, yes, we're assessing your home higher, whatever it may be, but the government's kind of ran on that because they know that city governments, county governments, and across the board, they know that they have to go to the state for certain things because in order for them to maintain the quality of life, the roads, whatever it may be, without the state's help, they have to raise those local taxes. And without a state income tax, it limits us to say, you know what, we want Florida to be the safest place to be. But the way it's basically going is, hey, you can have the American dream, but you're going to basically pay more for that appreciation and equity that you gain in this world. It's kind of crazy, but that's basically the fight that they're fighting here in Florida. Let me get back to it. Hold on, I forgot. I can't switch out of this tab. There we go.
It's kind of the wrong way to go, I think, on a home. You should actually have your own home ownership, which you don't get. Even with my bill, I think that you're still renting from the federal government or the state government.
Senator Gonzalez-Pitton, you have a follow-up?
Has there been an increase in the amount of taxes collected by our municipalities that would reinforce your decision to do away with property taxes?
You are recognized, Representative Steele.
Thank you for the difficult question. You know, in my county, if you just look at non-ad valorem tax, the increase on the non-ad valorem homesteaded homes, not homesteaded homes, was $69 million in increase, which actually overweighs the cut that this bill would do in my county. If I look at other counties, some of the counties that were discussed earlier, like Miami-Dade, if you look at just, and I'm talking about 23 to 25 in years, I'm not going back to 2020. If you look at 23 to 25, it's $700 million in increase in non-ad valorem tax, which exceeds the amount of money that would be cut by this bill or this House Joint Resolution for Miami-Dade. If you look at some of the constraint towns like Madison has an increase of $1.2 million, roughly it's $1.3 million in non-ad valorem tax, and that's also more than what they would lose in homesteaded ad valorem tax cut.
Any additional questions? Representative Gottlieb.
Thank you, Chair. Representative Steele, the numbers that you just gave I don't think are available to all of us. Is that something that we could get from you? And can you tell us the source of those numbers?
They are certainly available, but Representative Steele, if you'd like to.
Yeah, thank you. It's from our great staff. But, you know, I got the same information that anybody else is available.
Happy to get that over to you if you would like to send an email to our staff director. That'd be great. Thank you, sir. Any additional questions? Seeing no additional questions, are there any amendments? And that's a no. Public testimony.
No people gonna come out. Well, we're gonna be here watching the
Michelle Watson, Florida Alliance of
Redistricting on the
Children's
4th, too.
Councils and Trusts for information only, and she would like to appear. Thank you.
Thank you. I tied it obviously to 201, but this kind of applies to everything. I represent the Florida Alliance of Children's Councils and Trusts. 19 members of this committee have children's councils or trusts or children's boards or juvenile welfare boards in their communities, and these are voter-approved, electorally decided special taxing districts. So entities in the state of Florida, we are the only state in the nation that allows to create children's services councils. And so with that being said, we have 13 throughout the state of Florida that represent 60% of the state's birth to 18 population. These individual communities fund programs that support child care, after-school programs, child welfare intervention programs, career source and readiness, mentorship and youth programs throughout the communities. And so with these electorate-created special taxing districts, the question is, you know, we've heard a lot about counties and cities. Just for context, we can only apply up to $0.50 to communities, so that is up to 50 cents per $1,000 of taxable value. That allows a number of services to help with prevention. The return on the economic impact is huge when families can work, when they are removed from our state systems that burden taxpayer dollars. And so as you all are thinking about, we understand that there's a lot of proposals. We would love to come back to you individually and let you know the impact of some of these proposals on the collections for these services in your community, and just wanted to provide just a very different perspective as a voter-created ad valorem entity. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Steve Powell, do you wish to speak on this? Does that appear in person? Waving in support? Waving in opposition. Moses Klepper, do you want to appear? Sir, you are recognized.
Appreciate it again, and I did a better job this time. I sit back here and...
You're doing a great job any way you look at it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
There is a concern with multiple bills winding up on the ballot, which could greatly reduce the possibility of any bill getting the required 60% of the vote to pass. I would like to point out how incredibly partisan the vote is today. Truly wish that wasn't so. To remind you, a house divided cannot stand. The solution is cutting costs, fraud, abuse, and waste, including public service position salaries like the $170,000 administrator salary and a fiscally constrained county with a $55,000 average household income like Representative Miller discussed. Our county administrator was fast-tracked from $108,000 to $150,000 a year within a 3-year period before he recently retired. Also, there's no, and certainly to increase that retirement benefit. Also, there's no doubt that insurances and other costs are out of control, as are engineering services contracts, where secretarial services in our county being paid up to $250,000 a year, and that engineer making up to $600,000 a year on a taxpayer resources of $35,000 a year. That's poor people paying them guys $600,000 a year. That ain't good.
Yeah, come on.
In our county, there's approximately $6.5 million in homestead property taxes out of a $190 million
nobody really cares about
budget.
Nobody really cares about, I'll be real with you, local politics until there's some controversial ass shit that happens, right? To be all the way fair and real with you. And it's unfair to other shit that's actually like impacting day-to-day people's lives, because guess what? Nobody gives a fuck. People actually care. People, property owners care about the property taxes. The local government folks will care that the property taxes is basically getting snatched or basically taken away. Your services, like you seen the lady with the children's council testifying briefly. There are people out here who are going to be impacted by this. All right.
10 News.
We got some new, I guess, breaking news. Fallout from where we started this stream with Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick.
Right now at noon, Florida Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick facing charges and responding to them today after being accused of stealing millions in federal disaster money.
We have new reaction out of Washington to those charges and word she is already stepping down from a committee leadership position. We have team coverage here at noon on this indictment.
We're going to start things off with Local 10 Syra Onwar. She's live in Miramar with the brand new statement that's coming out from the Congresswoman herself.
Christy, we're outside of the FBI office here in Miramar. Representative Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick officially charged now by the Department of Justice, who says she used her family's health care company to steal $5 million in federal funds. Here's a live look outside of her office in D.C. right now. She's a U.S. congressional representative representing an area of Fort Lauderdale, Lauderhill, parts of West Palm Beach. She was elected a couple years ago. She won that election just by 5 votes. It was a special election held after the death of Representative Alcee Hastings. Again, she is now officially charged for this crime.
A federal grand jury indicting Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick and a number of her associates, accusing them of stealing millions of federal disaster funds, laundering that money, and using part of it to support her 2021 congressional campaign.
The money we invested was to make sure that we can touch the people in the community, but the money didn't determine this election, because most people who put a lot of money in the community, in the campaigns, they don't win.
Federal prosecutors say Cherfilus-McCormick and her brother Edwin Cherfilus ran a FEMA-funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract through their family health care company. Prosecutors say in July of 2021, the company got a $5 million overpayment. Prosecutors say the group diverted that money and tried to hide it through multiple accounts. The indictment says a big portion of those funds was used for campaign contributions and personal expenses. Prosecutors allege the South Florida Democrat and Nadege LeBlanc arranged more donations through straw donors, funneling money to friends and relatives who then donated to the campaign as if they were using their own money. Investigators say the Congresswoman, with the help of her tax preparer David Spencer, filed a false federal tax return, allegedly disguising political spending and personal costs as business deductions. Representative Cherfilus-McCormick putting out this statement this morning saying, quote, "This is an unjust, baseless, sham indictment and I am innocent. The timing alone is curious and clearly meant to distract from far more pressing national issues. From day one, I have fully cooperated with every lawful request and I will continue to do so until this matter is resolved. I am deeply grateful for the support of my district and I remain confident that the truth will prevail. I look forward to my day in court. Until then, I will continue fighting for my constituents."
Now, that statement just issued this morning. Now, if convicted, Cherfilus-McCormick could face up to 53 years in prison. We are live in Miramar. Syra Onwar, Local 10 News.
Cyrus, thank you. Our team coverage turns now to the reaction out of Washington, D.C.
Cherfilus-McCormick took office in 2022, succeeding longtime Congressman Elsie Hastings. Local 10's Caroline Coles is in the newsroom with more on the fallout.
Yeah, Representative Greg Steube will file a motion to expel Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick in connection with the federal indictment that alleges the House Democrat used disaster funds to go towards her 2021 campaign. And Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also releasing a statement saying she will step down from her position as ranking chair on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Steube posting on X saying, in part, quote, defrauding the federal government and disaster victims of $5 million is an automatic disqualifier from serving an elected office. Cherfilus-McCormick needing to be swiftly removed from the House before she can inflict any more harm on Congress, her district, and the state of Florida. I'll be filing the resolution today. If she refuses to resign and save Congress the embarrassment of having to expel her, I will bring this resolution to the floor for a vote. House Minority Leader Jeffries responding in a statement, attributing his spokesperson, Christy Stephenson, saying Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick has proudly represented the people of Palm Beach and Broward County since 2022. Consistent with the United States Constitution, she's entitled to her day in court and the presumption of innocence. Pursuant to the rules of the House Democratic Caucus, Congresswoman Cherfilus-McCormick will take leave from her position as ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee's subcommittee on the Middle East and North Africa while this.
And you know who's impacted the most by this? Again, you said it all stream. This isn't just her impacted. It's not all the people who decided to run for Congress who lost to her. It's the black people in the district she represented, right? That's who takes the biggest L. So when you look at Palm Beach, again, this is the black district, right? I'm not even gonna hold you. You know how you know it's the black district? Again, you see the lashes around Riviera Beach, Palm Beach, and you see the duck lips around Pompano, Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. You see the big nose coming in some of this wildlife area in the eyes over there in Belgrade. We see it all, right? This is the black district. This is who's impacted. This is who's impacted the most by this entire damn fiasco with Sheila McCormick. Because instead of saying, like, you know what, damn, I ran for Congress and lost twice. I just need to move on with my life. You decided to finagle the people. And now, when the Florida legislature is looking to redraw these maps, December 4th, they're having the first meeting. We're going to be here live on the stream. I'll be coming from Tallahassee. We're watching here live. But when it gets to a point where the district is drawn like this, and you know you're representing the black South Floridians, Jamaican American descent, Haitian American descent, Black American descent, American descendants of slavery, these foundational black Americans who don't know how to operate like foundational Americans, they're the ones impacted by this. Hello. Because again, I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but this is a gerrymander. Again, the eyelashes, Riviera Beach, they don't come to Palm Beach Gardens. Downtown in the Gardens, it's not there. Palm Beach, down to Tamarind, Southern, all the way to Belgrade. We're going to get a bit of the black nose in the wildlife area, and we're going to get the duck lips down to Fort Lauderdale all the way through. And then you see the one neck going down for what it is. Like this is the black district. You could look at this and even say, oh, is he smoking a blunt? Is he smoking a pipe? Yes. He's wearing a hat. All the rest of this, no. I see lashes and I see duck lips when I see this district. That's who Sheila McCormick fucked up with this. These are the people impacted because, again, now you beat a former senator, multiple representatives, multiple county commissioners, multiple people who thought they could just jump in this race and win. Omari Hardy being one of them, right? And now all of a sudden, these people have nobody to represent them to fight for their representation in Congress when the Florida House goes to do it. And Greg Steube, former member of the Florida House, is going to basically have her be resigned, kicked out, censured in this whole process. This is why black people be fucking up. I'm about to sign off. I'm about to sign off and say something very real about this, right? There's something that they say about black elected officials that I don't want to say on the stream right now. I'm going to say it one day, right? But it's a fact of you need to go get your money before you run for office. There was a young man I was talking to. We're riding around 2018, putting campaign signs out for Congressman Al Lawson. And the young man told me, Mr. Phil, and I hate it when they call him Mr. Phil, but you know, you got to teach these young niggas, these YNs, some kind of respect, right? Mr. Phil, I want to run for mayor. I want to be congressman. I want to be this person. I said, go get your money first. Because you know why these people getting caught up using campaign money at ATMs? Because they broke boys. These niggas is brokies, right? They say, no lie, if you look at, again, I said it earlier in the stream, when you get elected and you're black, when you get elected, period, they look at your financial disclosures to see how much money you have. What ends up happening is a lot of these Democrats be broke. Negative 100,000, negative 200,000 in student loan debt, Tesla debt, all kind of fancy ass shit, right? But on the other side of the aisle, the Republicans, I'm not saying I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, but I'm gonna be real with you about this shit, right? The other side, they come in 10 million, 20 million, 58 million net worth in. I'm not coming to steal no $5 million from the federal government to be elected to Congress. I'm gonna go loan myself $5 million to go get it. What are we talking about? Right? That's what the fuck is happening. You have a situation where brokies are running for Congress because a brokey can't go ask his homeboys for $3,500 to run for Congress. Brokies can't sit here and be like, yeah, bruh, I want to go serve the community. I want to run a grassroots campaign, but I need you to give me $3,500. Bitch, that's more than my mortgage. Hello. You want me to give more than my mortgage for your dreams and aspirations and your ego to go run for office? Bitch, you don't have to serve. You don't have to serve. You don't have to serve to make an impact. Your ego wants you to serve to make an impact, and that's the problem. You get a situation where a lot of black folks elect these people hoping that they're the smartest, the brightest, the best to fight for their issues. Then they don't realize that a lot of these black elected officials are only feeding their ego, and they realize I could poverty pimp you because guess what? If I sit in this position long enough, I can get my son or my daughter into any college he is or wants to get in the state of Florida. I know that if anything happens, I may have to be frontline during a hurricane, but I know that if my son wants to play for the Miami Hurricanes, I can send him to a couple camps with the coach and make a couple calls to the president to make it happen. What are we even talking about? The issue with black America, to be for real, is not a lot of people are actually working in the political process to understand this shit, right? It doesn't make any sense how a nobody like Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, before she got to Congress, could sit here and run with less than $70,000, all of a sudden decide, you know what, I'm going to take this federal FEMA money, then I'm going to put this federal FEMA money into these federal banks, and from the federal banks, I'm going to put it in a federal campaign account, and guess what, I'm going to do a federal reporting, and all of a sudden I'm going to go serve with these people in the federal office with a pretty fucking face and a pretty fucking smile, and so what, I stole $5 million, I'm here with y'all. No, bitch, I got mine off the muscle. I got mine 100,000 meta shares up, right? I have mine from granddaddy land that I done got. So guess what? I loaned myself $5 million to get here. I didn't steal it from the government. I'm not living out of my political action committee. Let this be a wake-up call for every black elected official in the country living out of their political action committee or doing some shit illegal, knowing they ain't had the money to do it in the first place. Listen, this is a wake-up call. Because, listen, we were happy about Epstein files. We were happy about Mamdani. We sitting here like, oh yeah, we about to take midterms. Hold on. Let's go ahead and then drop this indictment for this majority minority seat that we need. And we've already set the meeting. You already set the meeting, Danny Perez? Cool. We set the meeting? Cool. Let's drop the indictment, Pam. Because while they're happy about the Epstein files and they're going through the list trying to point at me and all the people that end up being in the Epstein files, Deepak Chopra was even emailing Jeffrey Epstein for what it is, right? Cool. But at the end of the day, it comes down to a simple fact of, a very simple fact. You cannot have these broke ass niggas running for office to represent you. I'm not saying brokies can't serve. But what I'm saying is when you expose somebody who's never been basically exposed to all that money or all that access, they're going to start acting funny, right? They're going to take $6 million, $5 million overpayment from the state, $6 million and say, you know what, shit, fuck it, I'm going to put it in my campaign account. And by the time I get to Congress, they're going to love me just like Alcee. And I'll be able to stay in, but you never realize all the people that you beat, all the people that you were waiting, that were waiting in line for that seat, they were just as mad as you beat their ass. Because you outspent everybody. Dale Holmes had $1 million, other people had $600,000, $500,000. Where the fuck did you get $6 million from? Because they anticipated after you raised roughly $30,000, $40,000 the first time, less than $70,000 the second time, that you would only raise $150,000. This is where we at. This is what's wrong with black politics. Either way, thank y'all for tapping out. We didn't have a lot on stream today, but I gotta go eat, man. I may be back on a little bit after I grab. You never know. But either way, about 8,000 of y'all tapped in, about 50 of y'all, 30 of y'all, 10 of y'all here right now. Either way, thank y'all. You know what we gotta do to log on.
All I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, I gave you everything I had.
I appreciate every single one of y'all tapping in on the stream today. Gotta chop this up. This is really about chopping up some content. I think I got some good clips, maybe 10 or 15 that I can help drive to this shit. But either way, y'all have a great one, man. I'm out.